Hello. This phenomenologically, you're dealing with someone that and this is quite different numerologically. So to clear that up, that's already been made before. Do you believe it? Doesn't matter if you don't. Anyway, point is phenomenologically we're dealing with the physical plane only. So that one is a this face was on Romper Room when they were in kindergarten. Didn't look anything like this. But seriously, just gonna have to guess and say this is the face of a kindergarten, alright? No, definitely not. Okay, just quietly, definitely not. Because women are children. Holy fucking crap! They put something in the food to make kindergartners fucking age. Obviously they haven't. That's sarcasm. Anyway, so you don't know what Romper Room was, and was is the correct term. It was a TV show from decades ago, where it was dumb, but kids went on it because it was a dumb kids show. It was like Sesame Street, but for Australia, basically. There's been a few other things, and Brushes with Fame, Childhood Home was in Burke's backyard, and freaking wasn't on the show, but been on the 4:30 news of Channel 7 for about an hour with a group of people painting, and there's been a few other Brushes with Fame, and apparently some artworks have gone, were spread around, and you just didn't know this with this physical body here. I was on that did it and made them. So you're a bit sort of you've seen this face's work everywhere, but you haven't noticed it. Shh. This bitch be more cunning than Krasnov. Anyway, so does this bitch want to be famous? No. Okay, does this bitch want to be humiliated? No. Is this bitch being humiliated? Yes. Is it deliberate? Yes. Okay, right. So there are certain types of individuals that would believe that certain types of behaviour, due to their imaginal constructs, would qualify as humiliating. Okay? They don't actually know what humiliating is. They don't know that some people are beyond humiliation. They don't care. Okay? They don't necessarily want to humiliate others, but they are beyond it. So, it doesn't mean they're masochists. It doesn't mean they're sadists. It doesn't mean they don't care. They're just beyond it. See, humiliation is a symptom of what you might call the capacity for being shamed. And if you feel shame, you don't feel more remorse or responsibility, which means you don't feel empathy, which means you are not a good person. So shame and humiliation is a symptom of not being decent. So if you experience shame or humiliation as a consequence of people bullying you, or whatever, or your own cockamamie shit, okay, then you're not a good person. Okay, you need to experience guilt or remorse if you're actually responsible for something. Okay, if they're trying to do shame programs or humiliation programs or whatever, okay, then you're not really taking responsibility at all. So one of the things that happens with there are different orders of quote unquote so-called famous people. Okay, famous people. So there are some people who don't watch TV, don't watch YouTube, they don't read newspapers or magazines, and you think they might live under a rock, so proverbially they're not up with the program in the 21st century. They're not fucking neck deep in your Broadrollardian maps, okay? And basically, are washing your cultural constructs, okay? You're not washing your cultural constructs, living up to your perspective on fame and success and fortune might be. They're actually, doing things their own way. Like some kind of petulant majority. Anyway, the thing is though is that's sort of like a Holly weirdo type cult which grew out of the the celebrities in Hollywood the royal family, the 21st century and 20th century, okay? The tabloids about them. Oh my gosh, the Queen took a bath and we're of the understanding that Rembrandt went in there. Well, he wasn't actually in there at the time. Rembrandt was in the adjacent room and the butler was quite naughty and allowed Rembrandt to sit behind the curtain with his sketch pad to draw the Queen having a bath. So someone drew the Queen a bath? Yes, but in addition to that, Rembrandt was drawing the Queen while she was in the bath. And we heard that picture was replicated by one of those Gutenberg printing presses and put in the town criers body section. The loose leaf at the back of the newspaper that typically gets found at the pub. The one that we're not supposed to talk about that doesn't exist. Yes. And did Rembrandt do a very detailed drawing of the Queen taking a bath? Yes, she was standing up. She was standing up. She hadn't quite gotten in or out yet. You could see her hoodoo gurus. Ooh. Are they flowery hoodoo gurus? They kind of make, smell that smells better than an English autumn. Everything smells better than an English autumn. We heard they put rose oil in. I put rose oil in the bath. Oh, did that? Oh, whoa. They're the only flowers in England. That must have been expensive. Don't worry about it. There was a rumour that she had guests in the bathtub. Yes, the Queen of England had guests in her bathtub, and it wasn't the king. Oh! We hear that she has a strapping young lad of about 27 years old, 28 years old, who provides with services that are in addition to mucking his stables. Oh dear, that sounds like the Canterbury Tales. Oh no, the Queen didn't read the Canterbury Tales. How do you know? Also, I've never seen the Queen take a bath and don't actually want to. By the way, she's dead, so don't worry about it. Anyway, the point about stuff like that is that crap did in fact go on. And nowadays, we cop it as Brangelina fingered each other at the bus stop and are being arrested for public indecent exposure. Why wasn't Jim Carrey at the Emmy Awards or something? Is there some kind of conspiracy of cover-up? Like that's the kind of crap that goes on, okay? You notice how crude it is? How sexualized it is? How, private? The paparazzi is like using language-based soft pornography about people we don't care about to pry into lives we don't care about matters they don't necessarily want revealed unless they've got to release a book or increase their stock values or they've just, they've got another movie at the box office or something, okay? And they usually don't want you to know. And that's the American stuff. They usually don't want you to know. Even when they're people who are paid actors who went out of their way to go on stage, they usually don't want you to know. Okay? And there are people who do want you to know. There are people who actually wear a sock at the Grammy Awards. There are people who spend their fortunes making 1,000 AI videos about whether or not Elon Musk was supporter of apartheid or whether it was just May Haldeman. And whether or not Elon Musk is a bad father because Vivian is from the LGBTQ community as a trans person. And these are all things that are none of our fucking business. And yet in the case of someone like a political figure or someone who politicised himself by through sheer oligarchy and kekistocracy and massive amounts of collusion and corruption, we now have a situation where the personal background of Mr. Musk is relevant to whether or not we are dealing with a genuine fascist or just a guy who's cooked up on ketamine. And the answer is both, unfortunately, based on the information available. Ordinarily, though, why would we care about whether or not a celebrity dies of a drug overdose? I mean, there's people in our towns and cities who die of drug overdoses every day that we don't care about. Why would we care if the musicians are part of what's called also known as the 27th Club? There are many people around the world who die at the age of 27 every day, including some in war zones. Why would we care if a celebrity got divorced? Divorces happen every day. Why would we care if anyone, got a new Gucci Armada outfit and with some Diamante necklaces or something like that? Why would we care? We don't care. If you're being honest about it, we don't care. In actual practice, we don't care. Those stories are there so that the plebeian class can throw tomatoes at them. Those so-called celebrities, no amount of money can buy them dignity. All the money in the world cannot buy them dignity. The moment a celebrity gets a chance to go incognito, they fucking do. If they manage to have a career with the paparazzi largely stays out of their private life, they've done fucking well. They are cooked up on ketamine for a reason. Just the same as Kurt Cobain was cooked up on opioid, just the same as people before that in LSD and whatever else. Okay? They are literally one generation after another taking fad drugs that almost always have the same type of effects. They cause them to numb and dissociate. They numb them and dissociate them. So they're people who are trying to stop feeling and pretend like it's not real. These people whose lives revolve around how much attention they get from complete strangers and what those complete strangers might or might not think about them, and having varying degrees of wealth associated with their public image, are in truth numbing themselves and dissociating because that life isn't natural. Why is it the case that the plebeian class typically has what you might call the meth pandemic, but those people have the numb and dissociate pandemic or epidemic or whatever? Okay? Why is there a class distinction or a demographic distinction based on drug abuse? Why is it if you are from the plebeian class, if you were on drugs, rightfully, without being rude, rightfully, if you were declared incompetent to be a parent as a consequence of drug usage, then temporarily your kids might be taken to their grandparents' house or foster care and you get sent to rehab, right? seems fair enough. They've become drug addled. The stove keeps getting left on. The kids aren't fed. There's dog poo all over the walls. Fair enough. Okay? Why is it the case that if somebody passes the $100 million mark, okay, or is a billionaire, or, the further up that ladder, if their kids have psychological problems as a consequence of how their drug abuse caused them to emotionally tamper with their child's well-being, it becomes a topic for YouTube. They become a brave one, describing all of the things that they went through with their terrible parent and how things should have been better and how money doesn't buy happiness. And you know what? It's true. Money doesn't buy happiness. The thing is, and it's painfully obvious in those cases, the thing is, though, is the differential treatment. Why wasn't Vivian taken by foster care? Why hasn't little X been taken by foster care? Why is he touted as the most famous deadbeat dad, that Mr. Musk, but none of his kids are taken by foster care? They have negligent mothers who are socialites who literally flash their fannies just so they could get knocked up and get money from him later. Okay, the first wife might have been an exception because they were married long enough to have more than one kid. Okay, so they might have been a bit more genuine about it, okay? But afterwards, no. Okay? Talk about socialites. Okay? Talk about someone who is chronically unloved. Talk about a man who's cooked up on drugs, who takes a good-looking woman to his room, or his hotel room, and all she has to do is leave a lacy bra on the bed and walk away and text you the next morning and say, "Oh, that was nice, sweetie." And he thinks he's had a good time because he's too fucking spaced out to even know what he's actually done. Okay? And then 9 months later, she's putting in for what Americans call alimony. Okay? That's not the same as a man who's married up for however many years and has, however many was it with Vivian's mother? Or 6 kids or something like that. So you're talking about a guy who at some point in his life has become so incompetent as a parent that his kids are disowning him, like the adult ones, and he doesn't even have human names for his kids. Like, one of his youngest is called X. Like, the guy's actually obsessed with the letter X to the point where he even called his kid X. Okay? This is someone who shouldn't be a parent, and yet he doesn't get the same treatment for some reason as other people. Okay? I'm sorry. On behalf of Elon Musk's alleged and actual children, can the American Department of Social Services, here he hasn't taken a chainsaw to it, please have him arrested for mental abuse and psychological abuse and criminal neglect while on drugs, and have him taken to family court and have him taken to rehab, please. If he wants to be the great example for all people because he's Mr. Boss Guy, can he at least do that? Oh, wait. That's their way of saying money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy you a get out of jail free card. And it even buys you a card to chop up the Department of fucking Social Services and Child Protection. Because after all, there's nothing like taking a chainsaw to the very department that would have been investigating cases which involve human trafficking, like fucking Jeffrey Epstein was doing. You know Donald Trump's friend? On that subject, why didn't Elon Musk release the dossiers years ago when he claimed he knew about them? We don't know. And we're probably never going to find out because they'll probably burn the files on the way out. Oh, wait. they'll never leave. They'll never leave until you do exactly what they would do and exercise your Second Amendment rights and fucking shoot the pricks. They're not going to stop until you act exactly like them. Alright then? See the world as a computer game. See the world as a simulation. Have no empathy. Have no compassion, yet expect sympathy in return. And moreover, be on the take all the fucking time and wonder why you feel completely fucking hollow and need to zone out on ketamine in the first place. It's kind of difficult to have a sympathy for a guy like that when he doesn't even care about himself.